April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
Donald Trump hit dozens of US trading partners with tariffs while formalising recent deals with others including the UK and EU as he hit the global economy into a new era of trading. Prices went up on imported goods and businesses had to rethink where they get their products from. Some companies moved factories, others changed suppliers, and many are still adjusting to these changes. These tariffs don't just affect the US, they have changed supply chains around the world. Trump tariffs cause congestion. German logistics company Contargo are waiting an average of 66 hours to load containers at Antwerp and 77 hours at Rotterdam. Barges are normally offered fixed time slots to load at container terminals to ensure they can remove the containers quickly and efficiently. US imports of containerized goods in September fell 8.4% from the previous year, including a 22.9% drop in goods from China due to President Trump's tariff policies. The US account for 69% of all foreign investment in Ireland, employing over 300,000 people. 11% of Ireland's workforce mainly in tech or pharmaceuticals, accounting to 40 billion a year. America invests 1.3 trillion, which is 255% of our total GDP. Trump threatens to impose a 250% tariff on all pharmaceutical goods coming from the EU to try bring manufacturing back to the US. If this is the case, Ireland could lose up to 10 billion in corporate tax by just losing the three largest firms. In total, Ireland runs a trade surplus of an astonishing 50.1 billion in 2024.
A little bit. I mean, there's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland, and with other countries too. And we want to sort of even that out as nicely as we can, and we'll work together. We're going to work together.
Trump have framed Ireland for discouraging native manufacturing in America. With Ireland's low corporation tax, Trump aims to raise this to 21%. This is mainly targeted at our pharmaceutical companies that are based here in Ireland. But after all, Trump isn't satisfied. He pointed out while US companies invest massively in Ireland, making up 69% of all foreign investment, Ireland avail a huge 50 billion trade surplus, which he sees as the US getting the worst end of the deal. But with all his action, it's hard to believe how established businesses will relocate back to the US.
Trump's reciprocal tariffs are affecting all countries.
See our relationship with Latin America and Brazil.
Great. Should be great. They need us much more than we need them. We don't need them.
What is US trade with Latin America and the Caribbean like? The exchange of goods, including services, between the two markets exceeded $1 trillion in 2023. According to the UN, then this enormous figure is due to primarily Mexico. In 2022, the US traded with its southern neighbour totaled $840 billion. Brazil followed with $92 billion, and then Colombia followed, and then Chile with $36 billion and $34 billion. Top products in the US imports from Latin America and the Caribbean. Imports vehicles, auto parts, capital goods, industrial supplies and materials, food and animal feed and beverages, customer goods from the region. And then the top products from the US exports and the Latin Caribbean are seen below, with the top being 42.6% industrial supplies. The deep economic relationship between China and America.
China.
Joining the World Trade Organization in 2001, China's export numbers skyrocketed, growing from $266 billion in 2001 to $1.4 trillion by 2008, sitting on around $535 billion now. Trump hits China with a 104% tariffs and major trade war escalation. And China still sits at the top of the manufacturing countries over the US. The ongoing tensions between the US and China, especially with these massive tariffs, are really shaking up global supply chains. And that has a big impact on transport planning. Companies are having to reroute shipments to avoid the highest tariffs, which means longer transit times of up to 20 to 35 days and new logistical challenges. Delays are becoming more common not just at ports but across trucking and rail networks as well. And of course, all of this drives up costs from fuel to labour to storage, which makes it harder to plan accurate budgets and delivery schedules. For logistic teams, it's a constant balancing act trying to keep goods moving efficiently while navigating a maze of tariffs and trade restrictions. Donald Trump taking stage, ready to talk about the new USMCA, promising strong trade, jobs, and boosts for North American businesses.
USMCA.
USMCA.
Like the song YMCA.
US, Mexico, Canada. I don't know if it has.
What were the ultimate downsides to NAFTA?
It's racked up trade deficits totaling more than $2 trillion, and it's a much higher number than that. With Canada and Mexico, it lost. Throughout the campaign, I promised to renegotiate NAFTA, and today we have kept that promise.
Has the USMCA been a success after NAFTA? USMCA has brought real wins, stronger trade, more investment, and better supply chains, but it hasn't changed everything.
During the Biden administration, the bipartisan infrastructure law made a historic $1.2 trillion investment in America's infrastructure. Its passage was celebrated across the political spectrum, with President Biden declaring it the enemy of potholes everywhere. But now people are wondering, how will President Trump's expected tariffs plan impact construction costs? Shortly after the election results were finalised, the Google search volume for tariffs skyrocketed. Much of the economic focus of President Trump's campaign honed in on tariffs. So how will these anticipated tariffs affect the construction industry and America's infrastructure? The United States imported $675 billion in industrial supplies and materials in 2023. Canada, as an example, accounts for 33% of these imports and was specifically called out by the new administration. Canada currently accounts for 30% of lumber imports, 60% of crude oil imports, and 10% of cement imports. It's not just the imported goods that may be a risk of inflation. New or increased tariffs have the potential to raise prices for a wide range of construction inputs, including items produced domestically that compete with imports. With Trump's return to power secured, some additional clarity is now available on what may be ahead for America's economy and regulatory rulemaking.
Crypto is the future. Let's embrace this incredible technology and lead the world in digital economy.
Trump has been an outspoken supporter of digital assets and cryptocurrencies. At a Bitcoin conference earlier this year, he promised to build a government stockpile of Bitcoin. Bitcoin prices spiked to an all-time high on election night, above $75,000 as the outcome of the election unfolded. For the manufacturing industry, promises from Trump and running mate JD Vance about the implementation of tariffs on certain countries could weigh well for some manufacturers and poorly for others, leaving industry executives playing the waiting game while assessing their next move.
Charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things that they've been taking over the years. They've taken so much out of our country, friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe.
As the US increased tariffs on its imports, the countries exporting those products may retaliate by putting tariffs on the imports they are receiving from the US as well. The repercussions of that counterattack can affect the demand for the companies in the US that are selling those products.
In a Trump world, transport and distribution planning becomes a lot more challenging because of unpredictable political decisions, trade wars, and protectionist policies. This means logistics companies can't just stick to the same routine strategies. They need to be flexible and ready to adapt quickly. One of the main ways companies deal with this is by diversifying their supply chains. Instead of relying on one country, especially China, businesses spread their suppliers across different regions. This helps reduce the risk of sudden tariffs or trade restrictions. For example, during the US-China trade war, many companies moved production to places like Mexico and Vietnam to avoid extra costs and delays. Another important strategy is flexible transport planning. Logistics companies now use a mix of road, rail, sea, and air transport. This means if one route becomes too expensive or blocked due to new regulations, they can easily switch to another. This flexibility helps them keep deliveries running smoothly without major interruptions. Technology also plays a huge role. Companies use tools like real-time tracking, AI route planning, and data analytics to monitor shipments and predict problems before they happen. These systems help managers make faster decisions and adjust plans when something goes wrong, such as delays at borders or new customs rules. Risk management is another key part of their planning. Companies prepare backup plans, keep extra stock, and constantly monitor political changes. This way, if a sudden policy change affects their transport routes, they already have an alternative ready to go. A good real-life example is Walmart. During the trade tensions between the US and China, Walmart shifted parts of its supply chain to other countries to avoid rising costs. This showed how smart planning and quick adaptation can protect a company from political disruption. Overall, in a Trump-style environment, logistics companies need to focus less on rigid systems and more on being flexible, prepared, and adaptable. The key to success is staying alert, using technology wisely, and always having a backup plan.
In conclusion, it is evident that Donald Trump's policies have had significant effects on the transport and distribution sectors, creating notable bottlenecks within the global supply chain. Additional impacts include rising inflationary pressures, increasing infrastructure costs, and higher prices for everyday consumer goods. A central long-term objective of these policies has been to re-establish domestic manufacturing in the United States. However, this aim has not been met, with criticism from supply chain specialists and economists. Many argue that the approach may create inefficiencies rather than sustainable economic growth, even if it is intended to boost employment.